Well, today is Tuesday, April 24th, 2012, and we are interviewing Ed Cassell at the Illinois State Library. Should I call you Ed or Mr. Cassell? Which are you comfortable with?
Ed's all right, but
Ed's all right.
we pronounce it Cassell.
Cassell? Okay. Oh, well, I had a T in there. Okay. It's Ed Cassell. And Ed is was born in 1927, which makes you, I'm going to do the math real quick, 85? All right. 85 years old. And thank you so much again for coming. And would you please state for the recording in what branch of service that you served?
I was in the Navy.
Okay. All right. Well, just start telling me about your military service. Like, what was your rank in the Navy?
Well, I quit high school, joined the Navy, and went through the boot camp in Great Lakes. And when we left the Great Lakes, I went to the West Coast. And this was late in the war. We didn't know it was late in the war at the time, but it was. And they was planning a big surge on Japan, so we thought we was Marines when we was out there. They give us Marine training out in California to, I guess every man that's available would be hitting the beach of Japan. And so we took all the Marine training in California.
Okay. And while you were, what were some of your jobs or your main duties as you served?
Well, when I, excuse me, when I was aboard ship, I had heat treat, air conditioning, and we would take care of all the heating and ice boxes and things aboard ship. And of course, she had a lot of other duties. She cleans, scrape paint and everything, just like everybody.
Everything, a lot of things to take care of, I guess.
But I was fireman second class.
Okay. All right. Can you tell me a couple of your most memorable experiences while you served?
Well, once I was commended for lowering a fire extinguisher into a gun turret to put out a fire, which was almost identical to the problem they had on another ship at one time, where they had the explosion in the gun turret and killed a couple of sailors. But it was just a written paper from the ship's officers. I never hit Washington or anything, got any medals for it.
Yeah.
But
so that was a local commendation. That's cool. Very good. What about, I was wondering about, like, I'm sure you had some fun times, like some humorous times, or maybe played pranks on each other, you know, things like that. Is there any of those, like an experience there or two that you would like to share?
basically, it was all training or work for me, because it was it's late and they shipped us to the coast. They put us through this training, and I didn't really have anything that I can think of. The most memorable was the Japan quitting, because we just finished our training and we was going to ship out. And I don't think that would have been very
Very fun. So you were just in right at the end of the war then.
We was fortunate, you know, that it was bad that they dropped the bomb, but if we'd have sent all those young boys over there to hit the beach, why, it would have been thousands of young boys, you know, killed. A lot of them would never got on the beach.
Okay. How was it trying to stay in touch with your family? How easy was it, or hard, or?
Well, I only had my father at the time, and we got letters back and forth, but that was about the extent of it.
Okay. All right. It's changed a lot now in the few years. Did you have something that you did or maybe carried for good luck, like a good luck charm or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
I just
All right. Well, what about entertainment? Was there any times that you did anything for entertainment, or they brought in entertainment for you?
Well, I enjoyed the USOs they had, and you seen a lot of movie stars and stuff when you went to one of those. It was a nice evening for the soldiers to get out and see these.
And who were some of the stars that came during your time that you saw?
Guys, I don't know.
Don't remember.
Been so long, most of my memory's gone.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. All right. Can you tell us some of the places that you traveled and maybe were stationed or traveled while you were in the service?
No, after the war quit, while I was on the USS South Dakota battleship, and we took it through the Panama Canal and went to the East Coast, which was an experience to go through there. Of course, nowadays it'd be a bigger experience because they got 2 canals now. But it was interesting, and when we got to the East Coast, why they scrapped the South Dakota. That was the most interesting thing I had to go through.
What about people that you met, either your fellow Navy personnel or maybe when you were stationed somewhere? Did you form any friendships that have lasted, or any memorable ones that you'd like to tell us about?
Oh, well, there was always 2 or 3 that hung out together, or went to shore together and this and that. But they're, like I say, I forget most of them now. It's been so long.
And do you remember, when you were on leave and got to go to shore, what were some of the things that you liked to do?
Mostly we'd just go to town, Didn't have any leave, just nightly or weekends. And I did have one fellow that lived up in the mountains there in California that we would go up to his house on the weekends, and it's pretty nice out there because it was different than it was here,
Sure. I could ask you, how did being on a ship? How did it work? Did you take like for your supplies and that? Was the ship loaded when you left on a tour, and then, or did you get supplies brought in, or how did that work?
They would be brought in on other ships and loaded over to our ship. And of course, with the war over, we didn't get more than just your eating supplies, There's only one time that we had shells brought aboard. I really, being so late in the war, I just never experienced too much because it was aboard ship. You was always working, you either cleaning or doing something, or repairing heat treat or ice boxes or whatever.
Yeah.
So you kept pretty busy all the time.
Okay. So the experience that you did have when you were in the military, has that, how did that shape your thinking about war and military service? Did it change how you thought when you went in, or?
Yeah, I wasn't sorry. I mean, I feel that a lot of these young boys nowadays could use a little of the military because they need the people telling them what to do, you know, or making them do what they should be doing.
That discipline.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, when your service ended and you were officially out of the Navy, what did you pursue? Like, did you pursue a career, or um, go to school, or what did you do when you got out?
Well, when I first got out, I went back and got my GED, and then started looking for a job. Yeah, I worked at a number of different places, and finally ended up at Archer Daniels for about 5 years, and then we had Caterpillar move to Decatur, which was a chance for a better job, so I went to Caterpillar and had 28.5 years there, and I retired with the early retirement.
And what veterans have you joined, or involved in a veterans organization?
I belonged to American Legion, Post 105 in Decatur, and belonged to the Honor Guard, Macon County Honor Guard.
And what are some of your duties with the Honor Guard?
We give services for veterans' funerals, and it's free. I mean, all people have to do is ask for us, and we provide the service for the families, which is nice. I mean, they appreciate it, and we appreciate doing it.
Good, that's nice. Have you had an opportunity to attend any reunions or meet with any of the men that you served with?
No, I get the American Legion magazine, and I would watch for it to see if there's anything that came up for the South Dakota or anything pertaining to it, but it seemed like that's one ship that never got any publicity for some reason. The sister ship was the Missouri, and they was just identical, but and you hear about it because of the signing of the treaty and everything on it, and but you never hear anything about the South Dakota, and you never see anything about reunions or anything for it. And of course, now there's not too many left, you know. They're all.
All right. Well, I think I asked this before, but how has your service and the experiences you did have, can you think of any way that they've affected your life or shaped how you, the man that you've become now?
No, I don't know. It just, at the time when I felt it was something I had to do, and I just quit school and went to it. And of course, it was a short time in there, but it was a good time. I mean, I was glad when it was over. And of course, you're glad when you get home.
Sure, that was a nice homecoming. Well, are there any last comments that you would like to share? Just anything else you can think of that would that you could share about your experiences?
I don't really think too much about it. I say it was a short time in the actual service. I actually had 10 years in the reserve after I got out. But, I enjoyed it while I was there, and I enjoyed it when I got out. I can't tell you stories like these other guys that's in here today because they've all seen more action and more of the war than I did.
Well, it's important to know, though, that as you served, whether you saw action or not, there was things that you did, and we do appreciate that.
Well, when I joined, I didn't know whether the war was going to add another 4 or 5 years or what. It was the best day was when they said Japan quit, because we was ready to go over there, and then probably wouldn't be here today if I did.
Well, we're very thankful that you served, and we want to thank you for that. And thank you for coming today for the interview, and again, thank you for your service to our country.
No, I'm sorry I can't be more help to you.
No, it's fine. Everything that anybody tells us is, it's just another piece of history and about the life of those in the service that we didn't know, so we appreciate that.
Mm. The racetrack wasn't running anymore, so they eat 2 men in each stalls where you stayed. Yeah,
Really?
with bunk beds. Yeah, it's kind of odd.
Yeah.
And
then,
you had to, that was where you stayed during your training.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of things you found out that you didn't know about before. A lot of, actually, San Francisco and them, all them building stuff, they look like ground. On top of them, they grow trees, grass, and everything on all top of the buildings, so that airplanes wouldn't think it was a city. It was just looked like countryside to them.
It was camouflaged in a way. I didn't know they did that.
Interesting. Interesting.
Which camp were you at when you first got over to California?
We was out by San Jose, California.
My dad was right above San Francisco. Was it Camp Pendleton?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
That wasn't where you were.
San Jose is a little bit inland from San Francisco.
Yeah. And so when you first heard about the bombing of Japan and when you first realized that the war was over, were you inland at California? Were you at San Jose?
No, we was at an amphib base. We just finished the amphib training part of your training, and we heard about that. And of course, everything shut down then.
Yeah. What a relief that would have been.
Yeah.
My dad was he had been in New Caledonia in the South Pacific and in the Army, and they moved them to the Philippines to get ready to invade Japan, and they were packing up their boat to get ready to go to Japan when the bombs were dropped. So he would have been on that first wave.
They was taking every available man they could possibly get for that, because everybody, well, all the sailors was complaining because they said, we thought we was in the Navy, and here they was. I mean, they marched us across the mountains, and they give us guns, and we was Marine training.
Yeah.
And they was griping because said they was Navy, they wasn't Marine, and you didn't really know what all was going on at that time, why they was giving it to you, you know.
Right.
But then when you found out, why. But it would have lost a lot of people, because you would have met thousands of them on the beach when you tried to hit the beach over there.
Oh my.
It's a terrible thing, but that's about the only thing they could do was drop that bomb to get it over with. Could have just went on, and more people
right.
died.
So if your ship was a sister ship to the Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
didn't they sign the treaty on there because it was the home state of, was it Truman?
Yeah, I think there's something to that effect that they
I think that's why they
decided
chose
to do it on that ship.
Had he been from South Dakota, it might have been on your ship.
Actually, I was talking to a guy here a while back that does a little history, and actually there was more than one signing. That one was signed on the Missouri, but there was other branches of service that signed papers on other ships.
Really?
Mm.
You don't hear anything about that.
No, you don't. I was surprised that I don't know just how that was, what it was that was signed on the Missouri, and then whether it was their different units, like their Army or their Air Force or something on other ships signing papers. I don't know how that was, but I'd have to talk to him more about that. But I was surprised to find out that they signed more than one set of papers.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never heard that. When you came back through, did you come back to your home? Did you come through Chicago, or where did you?
Well, like I said, we went through Panama and took the South Dakota around to Virginia and dry docked, and then we come from there to Chicago and got discharged in Chicago.
Yeah. When you were on your ship, they didn't have air conditioning, did they?
No, not that I remember. In the officers' quarters, they probably did.
So were you down in the belly of the ship in your bunk?
I didn't like the sleeping quarters. They was too confined, too many people, and being on duty, I would take a cot and sleep in the machine shop on a cot. A lot of times I was on call anyway, and we kept a leak working up by the officers' mess most of the time. We never did get that leak fixed because we could go up there at night and get good food because they had food in the officers' mess 24 hours a day.
Huh, that's funny how that worked.
Yeah. For some reason that heater leaked all the time.
That's pretty sly. I don't blame you though. Oh my goodness.
There's little things like that happen.
Yeah, very good. Oh my goodness.
Well, my dad has told me the story about leaving from Quincy, Illinois, and he was about your age too when he enlisted, and getting on that ship in California after their training, you know, with your wool uniform on, and it's hotter than blazes, and going across the ocean. He just talked about how many people were sick and seasick and how uncomfortable it was.
Yeah, we never did wear blues in whites in California because it gets so cool at night. You had to have the blues all the time.
Sure. And the blues were wool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we never did wear the whites out there. Being by the ocean, it'd get cold at night.
Ocean breeze, wow. Mm-hmm.
If you're sleeping in a horse stall, is it open air? Were you out in the open air?
Yeah, well, see, San Jose is the most moderate weather in the States. They average 72 year round. So it wasn't too bad there.
Yeah, you didn't have it as bad as some of the camps
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Wow, my husband did his basic in Fort Dix, New Jersey in January, and he said it was so cold.
You know, some of
He's
these
like,
guys
oh.
that I'm with today that was over in Nam and places, they about freeze to death, you know.
Yeah.
Couldn't get enough clothes on.
He talked about wearing, they'd buy like pantyhose, knee highs or whatever to put under their wool socks as another layer.
Mhm.
I mean, if I'm out in the cold with just hose on, that's not very warm, but I guess when you layer it, it helped
Sure.
a little bit with the warmth, but
Yeah. Some of them went through some bad times, you know.
So we have veterans today from Vietnam and World War II
Yeah.
and
I don't know which exactly, we didn't get any
Probably
advance
Korea.
information. Yeah, wow. Well, that's really cool. That's interesting though.
All these guys here today are on the Macon County Honor Guard.
Okay.
that's where you are, Macon County,
Mm-hmm.
Decatur?
Yeah.
Is that, okay.
Very good.
You know, you talk about that their contribution was more because they might have seen action. But you were 17 and you stepped up to the plate willing to be there. And that counts for a lot. It really does.
Yeah, you know, you'd sat through it so long. You'd already sat through 4 or 5 years of war that felt like you ought to get in there and help get it over with.
Was your family supportive when you decided to enlist?
Yeah, like I say, me and my dad was living together, and he'd never been in the service. He was a railroader, and of course they was exempt. They wouldn't take railroaders or people that was moving, you know, equipment and supplies in the States that they.
But he was behind you when you decided to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
It is.
At 17 years of age, you know, I think about how I would have felt. I don't know that I would have been that courageous.
Well, you're silly then, I guess. Young and silly.
Well, there is that. And you think you're invincible.
Yeah, you got a different outlook on life there.
Sure.
When you're that young. You think you can survive all that. Well,
Well, thank you so